YouTube, it's Tracy from Entrepreneur Girl, and today is Tracy's Tuesday Tips. And we have this really big, heavy subject to talk about today, and that is sales tax with Amazon FBA. So I thought Tuesday tips were supposed to be light and easy, but today we have really chosen a big chunk to chew on. So thank you to my Amazon 360 Facebook group, because there's been a lot of questions about that, and I said that we would cover this today for our Tuesday tip. So we have a lot to learn. I have notes and a pen even, so you know it's serious. I have been researching this all week, and I've literally printed out about 50 pages. I've talked to Amazon twice on the phone. I've went to several different websites, and I have compiled all of this information to tell you today. But please note, I am not a CPA. I am not an attorney. I am not telling you what to do. This is just my opinion on the research that I have done personally for myself. So having said that, sales tax with Amazon FBA is like a really big gray area. I hate gray areas. I like to know what is expected of me. If you do X and then you add Y, you get to Z. And sales tax with Amazon FBA is not this way at all. It is very gray. It is very complicated. It's very intimidating. So we are just going to tackle this, take a deep breath, and we are going to do it together. In 45 out of the 50 states, you must comply with the state law to charge sales tax when selling an item in your state to someone in your state. So for example, if I am an eBayer and all of my inventory is sitting in my garage in Florida and I sell a book to a fellow Floridian, I will charge them sales tax for our state, and I will have to collect all the sales tax over the year, and then I will submit the payment to the state of Florida for the sales tax that I have collected. So theoretically, it won't impact me in that I'm not paying out of pocket. I am charging exactly what is owed. I collect it from the individual, the buyer who expects it, and I give it to the state, which also demands it, and everybody's happy. That same book and I sell it to someone in Colorado, I do not have to charge them state Florida sales tax because they do not live in Florida, they live in Colorado. So I do not have to worry about it at that point. If you live in one of the states that don't charge state sales tax, then of course you don't have to worry about it either. That's pretty easy and basic. Okay, I get that. You have been selling for a while, you have, you're a regular seller and this is what you're doing. You really need to check into, complying with those rules for your sales tax in your state. That's a really good place to start. And, compliance is another video, such things as registering your business, registering for a tax ID number, collecting on orders shipped in your state, paying what's been collected, and filing your sales tax returns. So those are types of things that you will do when you're complying with it in your state, and I would encourage you to do that because that is the law, and that is something that no one is really debating. That is something that's enforceable and you should do to protect yourself. But when you are an Amazon FBAer, the rules totally change. Everything, in fact, changes because it's called remote sales. And you don't really have to charge sales tax unless you fulfill the requirements of, or if you meet the standard of a thing called Nexus. So that's pretty vague. It doesn't say if you make X number of dollars, you must, or if you have X number of items in inventory in that state. It doesn't say it specifically. I don't understand that. Why don't they do it? If you're going to demand people, follow a rule, the least you can do is be, specific about your rule. The key words here for the Nexus is significant and substantial. What does that mean for us as Amazon FBAers? Am I a significant and substantial seller? I don't know. Instances where you have a physical presence, employees, or inventory stored in a state, then you have Nexus. No one that I can see is saying that it is X number of anything. So it is really used, you and I can interpret it completely different. There are no preceding cases to base this on. I did find one. It's Quill versus the state of North Dakota, and you can read about that if you want. I'm not going to go into it, but basically the Supreme Court did go for Quill, which is a reseller of office supplies in several different states. And the reason they did that is because of the interstate commerce laws, which again is another topic altogether. That Amazon doesn't really state it clearly. The courts don't. You and I have no idea. It really depends on people's interpretation. It depends on the interstate commerce law. It depends on what happens in the courts. I anticipate that this will be rearing its head over and over again until someone finally makes a decision, someone finally gets busted for the sales tax, or they pass some kind of law that exempts us from it. So meanwhile, now that we know it's all gray and there are no answers, meanwhile, what the heck are we supposed to do? Amazon has warehouses in 14 different states, and they are Arizona, California, Delaware, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Nevada, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and Washington. But there's really 4 different options. The first one is I can have inventory stored in my Amazon warehouses and not create Nexus at all. Therefore, not feel that I am obligated to pay sales tax at all, other than the state that I reside in. And the arguments for that is, you have a few items, even a few hundred items, sitting in a warehouse in another state is really not enough to be considered significant business presence. So basically, they're saying you don't need to worry about it. There is no legal, past. There's no legal laws or to indicate that FBA sellers are required to collect sales tax at all in other states. I mean, we don't even know if this is for sure something that we have to do. And 3, when we're using FBA, we concede control to Amazon. We send our inventory to them, but they can move it around or do whatever they want with it. They have control over our inventory. We don't. So I can be paying sales tax in Kentucky, and my inventory is in California. All right, but if you decide you're not going to worry about this sales tax thing in other states, there are some arguments against that. One, this is the most aggressive stance that you can take, and it has the risk of having a lot of future liability for you. I mean, seriously, if you don't collect sales tax and they can charge you for that, it could, depending on how much your sales are, I mean, you could be talking thousands, or big companies, millions of dollars. It could literally bankrupt your business because you're forced to pay something that you didn't collect. So it's money out of your own pocket. So that is a really big risk you're taking to not do that. And having inventory stored in a state and shipping to a warehouse in a state on a regular basis can be considered Nexus. So, for example, a lot of my warehouse boxes are going to Kentucky and Indiana on a regular basis. So, I'm thinking, in a court of law, could they say, well, Tracy, you're sending boxes to this place on a regular basis. You do have a business presence there. And maybe they can get me just on that. Okay, the second option we have is that we decide that we do have significant Nexus in every state in which we ship directly to when sending our products to Amazon. So most sellers like you and I probably ship to 2 to 8 different states. We're not really shipping to all 14 states where there's Amazon warehouses. Normally, if you look under your inventory in your Amazon Seller Central, you will see that you have about 2 to 8 warehouses. And so this would mean paying sales tax in those states. This is kind of the middle option. You can choose just to pay sales tax and in those states that you feel you actually do send a lot of your inventory to. So if I've had one shipment over 5 years go to California, I'm kind of waging that it's not going to be considered significant enough for anybody to come knocking on my door. Our third option is that you decide that you are part of Amazon's FBA program and you have created Nexus in every single state in which there is an Amazon warehouse. So you decide you're going to be full-fledged, compliant, and do what you're supposed to in all of the warehouses. Okay, so they have 14, but not all states require sales tax. So what are the arguments for doing this? Well, being a part of the Amazon FBA program and sending inventory can result in your inventory being moved around to any of the Amazon's warehouses, and as such, you could be deemed that you have Nexus in every single state where there's a warehouse. And if that's true, that means that you have Nexus and you have to pay sales tax. So if sales tax are paid properly, then you have no risk of any future liability. So this is the safest avenue to take. You're just going to be full-fledged, compliant. You have no risk of liability. You don't have to worry about it, but it is going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. So arguments against doing that. If a seller has no inventory stored in a state and never ships to a state, it is quite unlikely that you could have created Nexus there. So if I've never shipped to Illinois, for example, and I'm pretty sure I don't have inventory there, then why would I pay for that state? That's what it's saying. And again, compliance costs are high in terms of your time and money. Okay, the last option that you have is the fourth option, and that is just to stick your head in the sand and pretend that this thing doesn't even exist. Risky. I know it sounds the best. It makes maybe us feel the best short term because it's, a big deal. It's hard to figure this out. There's a big learning curve, and it feels overwhelming and just makes you want to stop before you begin. But when you analyze the risk associated with this, it's going to feel pretty heavy having that cloud over your head, worrying about because someone come knocking on your door and collect thousands of dollars from you, or can you be taken to a court of law? And that seems pretty risky. So those are your four options. And, you and your CPA and your attorney will have to make the decision that's right for you. And some of the thoughts that can go into that are, what are the income tax implications for you? In dollars, what is your potential liability for each of the options we talked about? If you haven't been paying sales tax, what kind of penalty will you suffer? And is it, retroactive? What are the implications for your other income streams, like your eBay or your Etsy? Once you file and it's with your business name, there is some discussion as to whether you need to file for all of your income streams, not just Amazon. It's kind of like a Pandora's box. Once you open it, there are other considerations. In regards to figuring out where your FBA inventory is currently located, I wanted to tell you how to do that. You can go to your Amazon seller account and you can hover over reports and then click fulfillment and then look in your inventory section. And there are several reports there that will show you locations. There's 4-character warehouse codes. And, I just recommend that you take a look at those, get an idea of where your items are stored, to kind of gauge in your decision-making process. Some people that have actually gone through the process, they decided they're going to be totally compliant. They are saying that it only took them about 6 hours to do the processes online. There was only one state that made you do it snail mail through the postal system. Everything else could be done online. And they're saying that each state, depending on the state, the lowest was $12 and the highest was $50. That's just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect if you do decide to go through the process. All right, so we talked about it. You kind of know now that it's a gray area. You know now that you have 4 different options. You know now what to consider when making your decision. Selling on more platforms, sales tax being collected in different accounts, that gets really confusing. There's only one There's only one program that I know helps with that. It's called TaxJar. I think it's pretty expensive though. I think it might be upwards of 3% per transaction, which sounds like a lot. But then I saw on another website where someone said that only ended up costing them 30 cents a day, and they helped you, file everything and figure out everything, and they just made it really easy. So that might be worth checking out. So what have I kind of decided to do for myself? Well, of course, I've decided to be compliant in my home state of Florida. That's a for sure. I am looking at my reports currently to see where most of my inventory goes. I've thought about it long and hard, and I plan on being really big with Amazon FBA. I really want it to be pivotal in my business. I really want to expand and just make a lot of money with Amazon FBA. So I don't really plan on being small when it comes to them. So I'm leaning more towards total compliance. It's 12 states. It, might take me a whole day to go through all of the paperwork and all of the crud, and I'll be doing YouTube videos and taking you right along with me, but I really think that's the best way to go. It secures my position. I don't have to worry about it legally. I know that I've done what is right. I know that I can grow and not worry about Nexus or what significant is. I can just be, I plan on being totally significant. So I think that's the avenue that I'm going to take. I think that's what I would encourage you to take. But again, as a beginner, I think you should begin. I don't think you should let this sales tax video scare you to death where you don't even want to do it anymore. I think you should start, and then I think you should worry about your state sales tax, where you reside right now. And then I think you can spend a day watching my other YouTube videos about how in the heck to go through, the e-paperwork to get all of this figured out. But that is my opinion on sales tax and Amazon FBA. I wish it was more black and white and I could say do this and do that and check this box. But unfortunately, I can't until the states get, until the legal system gets a clear idea on where they're going with this. So we can only make the best decisions that we can with the information that we have. And I think that is, at least for me, to be compliant and to go ahead where the Amazon warehouses are and go through the paperwork for those states. So I hope this was a little helpful. I hope you're having a great Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.